The Blue Mountains National Park, located around 80 kilometres west of Sydney, is part of the Greater Blue Mountains Area World Heritage Site. It has become the most visited national park in New South Wales. However, the formation of this renowned site began around 250 million years ago. At this time, the sea level had risen to cover the whole coastal region up to Lithgow. Rivers flowing from the west deposited their sediment into this sea, building up layer upon layer of what would become sandstone until the sea became a shallow delta. Forests and swamps developed in the delta, and over time these compacted into the Illawarra coal measures. The sandstone which was laid down over the coal reduced the once mighty sea in the region to a series of shallow lakes. This sandstone included Narrabeen and Hawkesbury sandstone, the latter being used in the building of many of Sydney's public buildings. The muddy sediment in the lakes later formed a layer of shale above the sandstone. Around 200 million years ago, a number of volcanoes exploded through the layers of rock. Remnants of these can still be seen throughout the Blue Mountains. This was followed 180 million years later by a 50-metre thick lava flow which covered the majority of the Blue Mountains area. Remnants of this can now only be found at the top of certain high mountains, such as Mount Wilson and Mount Tomah. Over time, the rocks rose into a plateau which slopes from its highest point in the west down towards the Nepean River and Lapstone monocline in the east. Rivers later eroded the softer shale and coal, undermining the more resistant sandstone. This resulted in the landscape of valleys that can be seen today. Although Blaxland, Wentworth and Lawson made a successful trip through the mountains in 1813, human history in the Blue Mountains stretches back tens of thousands of years, when the mountains were inhabited by the Gundungurra and Darug people. Rock art produced by these people is still visible in caves and gorges throughout the Blue Mountains. Many features of the region featured in their Dreamtime stories, including the famous Three Sisters. The legend goes that there were once three beautiful sisters called Meeni, Wimla and Gunadu, who fell madly in love with three brothers from the neighbouring tribe. Sadly, the two tribes were enemies and marriage between them was forbidden. Unable to help themselves, the brothers set out to capture the women, which launched a war between the two tribes. The local witch doctor decided to help the women and transform them into stone to protect them from the war. However, tragedy struck because during the battle, the witch doctor was killed, leaving no one able to reverse the spell and bring the women back to life. Therefore, the three sisters remain rocks for all eternity, standing mournfully high above the Jameson Valley, never to be human again. Tourists also have a strong connection with the rock formation as it is the most famous feature of the park. However, this has caused problems due to the numbers of tourists who come to visit the Three Sisters. Tourists have also been drawn by the attractions at Scenic World, which features a cable car transporting people down to the valley floor, a skyway giving bird's eye views of the Three Sisters and Katoomba Falls, and a scenic railway which is the steepest passenger railway in the world, featuring a maximum slope of 52 degrees. Although tourism provides money to help sustain the national park, too many visitors can cause excessive levels of erosion and can also have a detrimental effect on the local wildlife. The national park contains a wide variety of wildlife, including at least 14 species of bat and many of the 2,300 species of plant found in the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Area. Different varieties of eucalyptus tree make up much of the forest within the park and give the region its name. When eucalyptus trees are heated by the sun, oil within the leaves is released, creating a blue haze above the mountains. Some of the more common species, such as the grey snake and yellow-tailed black cockatoo, can be seen just by taking one of the many walking routes within the park. Even outside of the park, yellow-crested cockatoos can be seen frequenting the streets of Katoomba. The Blue Mountains are also home to a small number of Wollemi pines. This species was only known through fossil evidence until 1994, before a living tree was found in the Wollemi National Park, one of the 8 parks that make up the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Site. Less than 100 of these trees exist in the wild, so the Blue Mountains provide a vital habitat for the few Wollemi pines found there. During the recent bushfire season, most of Wollemi National Park was burned, however fire crews were able to protect the critically endangered trees. The Blue Mountains were heavily damaged by the recent bushfire season, with around 20% of the Greater Blue Mountains World Heritage Area being burned and up to 63% being partly burned. However, One of the best ways to recover from this situation is to increase tourism, or at least maintain the levels prior to the bushfire damage. By visiting bushfire-affected areas, tourists help to sustain the local economy and provide an income for those who have been most affected by the bushfires. This is the case for many areas in southeastern Australia, including the Blue Mountains National Park. Furthermore, tourism helps to fund research into the wildlife that has been affected, as well as projects to help affected species flourish again. The Blue Mountains National Park has been awarded Ecotourism Destination Certification, meaning the best sustainable tourism practices are in place and visitors can enjoy high-quality experiences while understanding the natural and cultural values of the protected region. This being said, too many people visiting the same location within the park is not sustainable. Advertising other sections of the park away from the Three Sisters would also lead to more people within the Blue Mountains benefiting from tourism, rather than mainly those in the towns of Katoomba and Loira. Sustainable tourism in itself is rather ambiguous. Many sustainable tourism destinations conform to government guidelines, but whether this makes the tourism completely sustainable is highly debatable. Academic research has found little evidence of truly sustainable tourism being implemented in practice, and therefore I believe it is down to the individual to make their visit as sustainable as possible. If all tourists did their utmost to make the smallest negative impact during their visit, natural wonders can be preserved for future generations to experience. Overall, it is important that tourists visit the Blue Mountains both so that they can experience the beauty of the region and the locals can benefit from sharing their local environment. However, the whole national park should be appreciated through walks and other immersive experiences, rather than the majority of tourists only taking a photo of the Three Sisters and then believing they have seen everything.